Hello everybody, it's me, Rachel, the Student Witch, and I'm here to talk about PMS. I've been working on a PMS tarot spread, but before getting into the ins and outs of the tarot spread, I just wanted to talk more generally about PMS and the luteal phase. Luteal, I'm not really sure how to pronounce that, but the luteal phase of the menstrual cycle for anybody with a uterus. So the luteal phase is basically after you've ovulated, if you ovulated that month, sometimes you don't, and the body begins to prepare itself for potential pregnancy. So progesterone levels rise, and eventually the uterus starts to build up its lining that is eventually shed in the form of menstruation if you're not pregnant, or the little zygote, little fertilized egg eventually makes its way and buries itself down into the uterine lining and pregnancy happens. So the luteal phase in the typical healthy cycle varies from person to person, but I think a healthy range is somewhere between 11 to 16 days long. It's the last 11 to 16 days of your cycle, and again, when menstruation happens, that's the beginning of your next cycle. I am working on right now making a more detailed video about how I've started experimenting with how I can incorporate the different phases of the menstrual cycle: menstruation, the follicular phase, ovulation, and the luteal phase, into my magical practice, into my spirituality. And so I hope to publish that video or upload that video sometime in the next few days or within this week. It's the first week of September. So in the meantime, let me just really quickly talk about PMS, talk about that last leg of the luteal phase, because for most people, if they do experience PMS, it's during the last week or so before the new cycle starts. And specifically, I wanted to talk about feeling empowered and embracing PMS. As, what's her name? Toni Weschler, the author of this amazing book, mentions in the chapter specifically about PMS, is how difficult it can be, and there's different levels of PMS. I'll get into that here in a second, but specifically she talks about how it's okay to just let it out. So she says, perhaps a better way to perceive your premenstrual emotions is to recognize that it is a time when you finally allow yourself to express the frustrations society expects you to suppress. So for those of us who identify as women or femmes, we have to deal with a bunch of bullshit, of course, and some of that bullshit is the expectation to always be pleasant and in control, and also under control. That was my neighbor downstairs slamming the door again. So we're in control, but we're also under control, and we are expected to always be pleasant, ready for the consumption of men, right? And if you cry in public, you're hysterical. If you are assertive and you speak your mind, you're a bitch, right? So we are under this very particular pressure to just be pleasant and receptive and passive. And I think the luteal phase, specifically PMS, that we might experience during this phase of our menstrual cycle is a great reminder of our humanity. To be human is to experience a whole range of emotions and experiences, and yet if we're pressured to suppress a part of that range, it's suppressing a part of our humanity. So one of the great lessons that I've learned in reclaiming my PMS, reclaiming and embracing the power of my luteal phase of my cycle, is how by reclaiming and embracing that phase, I'm reclaiming and embracing aspects of my humanity. And it's okay to feel those aspects, even though they might not be pleasant, even though they might make other people around us uncomfortable because they don't know how to handle it. It's okay. It's okay to express it. And so now, the varying degrees of PMS. And I'm going back to Weschler's book here. So there are general PMS symptoms that affect different aspects of our life. If you do experience PMS, you can feel just kind of shitty, kind of a little bit depressed, decreased motivation, hot flashes, bloating, your skin could break out, breast sensitivity, right? So those are considered fairly normal. It's okay to feel a little crappy for a few days before your period starts. It's fine. However, there is something called PMDD, which is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And Weschler says, if what you experience in your luteal phase is so severe that it interferes with virtually all facets of your life, you may have PMDD. So PMDD is a particularly intense PMS symptoms, and they're intense to the point to where your general well-being and your enjoyment of your life is being impacted. So severe depression, severe anxiety, severe physical symptoms. So if you do suspect that you have PMDD, I would definitely talk to your gynecologist or your doctor, and I'm hoping that this video, this tarot spread that I'm about to talk about, as well as the luteal phase magic video that I'm going to be posting here soon, I hope that those in a psycho-spiritual way can be helpful and to help us manage our PMS. Because again, the idea is not to suppress it or ignore it or pretend that it's not going on. The idea is to bear witness to it, to embrace it, and to work through it. Right? So I hope this helps. And again, this tarot spread specifically, it's not a predictive type of tarot spread. This is more of like holding up a mirror to yourself and analyzing what's going on. It's bearing witness to something, right? Because once you bear witness to something, then you can be proactive about it. So with that being said, let's get to the spread. And I'm a poet and didn't know it. Alright, so welcome to the top of my bed. My idea was to record this at my altar, but the light was coming through the blinds really weirdly. And just, it was not happening. So anyway, I'm using the gorgeous Greenwich Tarot. I find that this tarot deck is very calming and gentle in its messages, so it's a great deck to use for PMS-y kind of times. And for a little bit of added help, we have some fluorite. I just picked up this piece of fluorite the other day, and man, it's just been like buzzing in my hands every time I pick it up. It's really been helping me with discernment and thinking clearly, which really comes in handy during PMS. So, stick that guy right there. So the first position is up here, and if you notice, it's an upside down triangle, the water element sign, a very feminine symbol. I did that on purpose because this is a very feminine kind of time of the month. So in the first position here, I call this witness. And my prompting questions are, how are you feeling? Why might you be feeling this way? How did you feel this way last month? So comparing different cycles. Was there a trigger for these feelings? what can you learn from these feelings? So this is just bearing witness to the feelings and admitting that you're having them, and maybe trying to make some connections as to how they might be related to your cycle, to your day-to-day life, to previous cycles, what might be different from between this cycle and the previous ones, that kind of thing. So just bearing witness. The second card here is called reflect. So witness, reflect. What aspects of your day-to-day life are being affected by your current PMS or PMDD? What is the severity of their impact? Is it a short-term or a long-term impact? So this is reflecting on how your current symptoms are affecting your life, your day-to-day life, your overall happiness, that kind of thing. And the last card down here is called integrate and express. What can you do to alleviate your symptoms? Which symptoms require immediate action? How might you express your feelings in a productive or healthy way? How can you integrate your PMS or PMDD into your sense of self, right? Because again, this spread is about bearing witness to and accepting and embracing our emotions and our symptoms of PMS or even PMDD. But again, if you have PMDD or if you feel like you might, definitely go talk to your doctor. This spread isn't meant to cure anything, it's just meant to help us cope, embrace, and assimilate this aspect of our cycle into our senses of self and to feel empowered through that. So integration, I think, is really, really important because it helps us kind of switch our mindset from avoidance or suppression of these feelings to confronting and assimilating and expressing these feelings in healthy ways, right? So yeah, that was the PMS or PMDD tarot spread. Let me know what you think. Those of us, or those of you out there who have uteruses, who go through monthly cycles, how do you handle or cope with your PMS or PMDD symptoms? What are some of the ways that you maybe incorporate the tarot or other magical tools to help you deal with those things? I'm super curious to see if anybody else out there has like a PMS tarot spread. So be on the lookout for a more detailed menstrual magic video from me, specifically about the luteal or luteal phase, here in the next few days. And until next time, many blessings. Bye.